You've probably heard this before. Ancient humans barely worked, just a few hours a day, then tons of free time. People say it like it was paradise, like we gave up an easy life for boring jobs. And yes, they really did have all that free time, but nobody tells you the other half of the story. All that empty time in a group with no rules and no police was actually a huge problem. The free time everyone dreams about, for them, it was dangerous, and it nearly wiped them out. Let's start with where that paradise idea even comes from. Because it's real. It's not made up. Back in the 1960s, an anthropologist named Richard Lee went to live with a group of hunter-gatherers in the Kalahari Desert in southern Africa. He wanted to answer a simple question. How hard is it to survive when you don't have farms, or stores, or jobs? Everyone assumed the answer was brutally hard, that these people spent every waking moment just trying not to starve. So Lee did something nobody had bothered to do. He actually measured it. He followed them around and counted the hours. And the number shocked everyone. To get all the food they needed, these people worked about 12 to 19 hours a week. Not a day. A week. That's 2, maybe 3 hours a day of actual work. The rest of the time was theirs. A few years later, another scientist named Marshall Sahlins took that idea and ran with it. He called hunter-gatherers the original affluent society. His point was simple and kind of mind-blowing. Maybe these so-called primitive people were actually richer than us because they had the one thing modern people never have enough of: time. And this is the version of the story that went viral. You've seen it. Ancient humans only worked 3 hours a day. We were happier before farming. We traded freedom for a paycheck. It's all over the internet. But here's what almost nobody adds. Even Lee, the guy who discovered this, later admitted his famous number left a lot out. It only counted getting the food. It didn't count preparing it, making tools, fixing shelters, hauling water, or taking care of kids. Add all of that back in and the work week jumps to something more like 40 hours. Suddenly, it doesn't sound like paradise anymore. It sounds a lot like your life. So the truth is somewhere in the middle. Ancient humans didn't work every second to survive, but they weren't lying around all day either. They had real free time. Just not endless free time. And that free time they did have, that's where things get interesting. Because free time isn't as harmless as it sounds. Think about what free time actually is. It's a stretch of hours where nobody needs anything from you. No task, no goal, no problem to solve. For us, that sounds amazing, but that's because we have 1,000 ways to fill it. Phones, shows, games, music, books. The second we feel bored, we reach into our pocket and the boredom disappears. Ancient humans had none of that. When the work was done, they were left alone with each other, and with their own restless minds, for hours. And a group of humans with nothing to do is not a calm thing. It's a tense thing. Here's why. Picture a small camp, maybe 20 or 30 people. Everyone knows everyone. You can't quit. You can't move out. You can't block someone or scroll past them. If you have a problem with the guy across the fire, he's still going to be across that fire tomorrow and the day after and for the rest of your life. There is no escape from the people around you. Now add empty time to that. Hours where there's nothing to do but notice each other. Old arguments have room to grow. Small annoyances turn into grudges. Someone feels disrespected. Someone else feels left out. And this is the part we forget from our comfortable modern lives. In that world, a single fight could be deadly. There were no police to call, no courts, no one whose job was to step in and cool things down. If two people came to blows, other people got pulled in, and things could spiral fast. Anthropologists who've studied groups like this found that arguments over food, over partners, over insults were one of the leading causes of death. Not lions, not starvation. Each other. So free time was a real danger. Too many idle hours, too close together with no way to walk away, was a recipe for the group tearing itself apart from the inside. And there's a strange echo of this in a famous experiment. In the 1960s, a scientist named John Calhoun built what he called a paradise for mice. Unlimited food, no predators, no danger, total safety, and total comfort. And with nothing to struggle against and nothing to do, the mice didn't thrive. Their society fell apart. They stopped bonding. They stopped raising their young. They just unraveled. Now, mice aren't people, and you can't map one straight onto the other. But it points at something real. For a social animal, having nothing you're needed for isn't peace. It's a kind of quiet poison. So our ancestors had a problem. They had these dangerous empty hours and no phones to escape into. What did they do? They didn't just survive that free time, they filled it. And what they filled it with is, quite literally, everything we now call being human. Start with the simplest thing, talking. There's a scientist named Wiessner who spent 40 years living with and studying those same Kalahari people. And she did something clever. She recorded what they talked about during the day and compared it to what they talked about at night around the fire. The difference was stunning. During the day, their conversations were mostly practical and, honestly, kind of tense. Who's doing their share of the work? Who took more than they gave? Complaints, criticism, gossip. Daytime talk was about managing all that social friction. The exact friction that idle time creates. But at night, around the fire, everything changed. Over 80% of the nighttime talk was stories. Tales of people far away. Adventures, myths about how the world began. Jokes that made the whole group laugh. If people had fought during the day, the fire is where they came back together and let it go. Wiessner's conclusion was beautiful. The campfire was where humans learned to bond, to imagine, to become a real community instead of just a group of stressed-out individuals stuck together. In other words, the stories weren't just entertainment, they were the tool our ancestors used to survive each other. Storytelling was social medicine. It took all that dangerous idle energy and turned it into connection, and it didn't stop at stories. All that free time is where the rest of human culture came from, too. Music. Someone, thousands of years ago, was bored enough and curious enough to carve holes in a hollow bone and blow through it. And we've found those flutes, over 40,000 years old. Art. People took the empty hours and used them to paint animals across cave walls by firelight. Art so good we still travel across the world to see it. Games. We found dice and playing pieces made from carved bones, thousands of years old, because even back then, humans needed something to do with their hands and their competitive itch. None of that helped anyone hunt. None of it grew food or built shelter. It came from the empty hours. The exact same empty hours that could have turned the group against itself. Our ancestors took the most dangerous part of their day and, without meaning to, built beauty out of it. And here's the twist that ties it all together. We usually tell the story backwards. We think humans became smart and creative, and then, as a nice bonus, we invented art and music and games in our spare time. But it might be the other way around. The free time came first. The danger of that free time came with it. And art, music, story, ritual, even our sense of humor. These might not be lucky extras. They might be the tools we were forced to invent to survive having nothing to do without turning on each other. The boredom didn't come after we became human. The boredom may be part of what made us human in the first place. Which brings it back to you. Tonight, at some point, you'll hit a moment with nothing to do. A pause, a gap, a little stretch of empty time, and without even thinking, your hand will go to your pocket, and the phone will fill the silence, and the boredom will vanish before it ever really begins. Your ancestors couldn't do that. They had to sit inside that empty time. And because they couldn't escape it, they filled it with the most human things we've ever made. The stories, the songs, the jokes, the art that still move us thousands of years later. We finally solved the problem of boredom. We killed it completely. And it's worth asking quietly, in one of those empty moments before you reach for the screen. Now that nothing forces us to sit with that silence anymore, what are we no longer making inside it?